Okay, guys, so when I started out wanting to share my story, I wanted to do it just to see what happens, right? So maybe someone will connect with it, and maybe I'll connect with it, right? Maybe selfishly, sharing this story will make me more aware of what the whole process has been in my own life. And two things happened today that basically allowed me to hit my goal. So I got a message from someone who watched my long video where I describe how I ended up in rehab. And that person connected almost too well with some of my trauma that I went through. Let's call it psychological trauma, call it religious trauma. But my experience of vocation and what that word meant, how it was taken away from me, how my identity was really, really played with. And this person shared this story with me. And when I read what their experience was, I started crying. I was at my desk. I started to cry. And I actually hit my desk. I smashed my fist on my desk because I related so strongly to what they went through. And it makes me so angry that we can't talk about it and be vulnerable, right? So I'm out here telling everyone my story and everything, but not everyone is at that point or can do that without consequences, right? I've just decided I'm not worried about it. So I had all these emotions, but I felt grateful that someone had connected with part of my story and want to share theirs with me. And that maybe each of us had a moment of understanding, you know? There's a lot more to that. The second thing that happened for me was I was having a random conversation with a friend, and this friend randomly shared with me that they were on antidepressants. And they shared it with me in a way that it was just last week I went to A&W. And I know that these conversations are happening because I'm opening up and getting in touch with my sobriety more of what's my story? How's it happening? How can it impact people? And so I would say that at this point, my entire project here is a success. I could stop right now, and this is a victory. So vulnerability is everything. And shame is awful. I'll do a video on it at some point, but just if you're out there and there's some trauma that you're experiencing, and even if it's not addiction related, there's some shame in your life that you can't speak to the people around you about. I feel that. I didn't tell my family about what happened to me in the seminary for, I think, 3 or 4 years. I didn't let them know that, hey, I was told I didn't have a vocation because I had this natural inclination for these heterosexual masculine urges, And so I remember telling my mom that 3 years, 4 years after the fact. And I remember her just being so upset, right? Here I was embarrassed about it all. And she was like, what the heck's going on? So my channel, this project is already a success. You need to be more vulnerable with people around you. And we got to work on cutting out the shame. Because when it comes to things like addiction and mental health, the thing that prevents people from getting help is exactly that: shame. Shame that they can't share their story, shame that they'll be judged, shame that someone will leave a relationship, shame. And so let's end that somehow, right? And ending it is maybe not possible, but how can we talk about it more? Sober Walsh.